Well, I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm ready to get off this red rock and head back to that pale blue dot that we call home. Hey guys, Tex here, and welcome back to this Orbiter 2016 video series in which we've flown from the Earth to Mars. So we've been here for a little while. We flew around Phobos and Deimos, and so we're back here at Olympus Base. We've got to get the old crew that's been here for a while loaded up on the XR2, plan our flight home, and go ahead and get off of this red rock. You can see actually right here is where we're going to be going. That's the Earth. So I don't think we're going to get a very good view of it, but if I zoom in all the way, yeah, it doesn't even look blue in the red sky, but there it is. There's the Earth and the Moon. So that's where we're going to be heading. Alright, so basically what we want to do is go ahead and plan our trip. I'm going to use TransX again to do that. So of course we're going to pull TransX up on both sides, and we're going to go to escape, forward, and let's find our home. There it is. Alright, so we'll press view over here. On this side we'll go forward, forward, and I would like to set graph projection to focus. There we go, and press view. Alright, so of course we have the sun in the center, and here is Earth's orbit. The inner red circle and the outer red circle is Mars' orbit. This radius vector indicates where us and Mars currently are at the moment, and here is where Earth is at the moment. Now we are roughly, I believe I set the scenario about a year ahead from our arrival, and that's still probably not going to be far enough. We're probably going to have to go ahead like another year or so before we find a good launch window. Alright, so what we need to do is, of course, we need to reduce our prograde velocity, or input some negative prograde velocity in order to lower our periapsis, if you will, to get down to Earth's orbit so that we intersect Earth. So just roughly putting something in here, you can see we've clearly dropped down well below the orbit of Earth, but our closest approach is still way off. Even if I bring it up here, it's still 114 million meters off. I'm just going to bring it down somewhere around here for now, and then I'm going to go to the date, and we're going to advance the date forward until we find a reasonably close pass. Let's go, I may want to go on the rough end of this, and that's bringing it down, as you can see. Alright, now let's go to course again. Okay, so that's coming down fairly good there. Okay, so somewhere in here seems pretty close, and I bet we could we'll just take it ahead a little bit there, and I bet we could tweak this with some prograde. So let's go back to prograde, maybe put that on medium. Bring that down. So that's getting, now we're under 2 million meters, so we're in the neighborhood. Let's go to the date. Probably this is going to be really sensitive. Okay, that's not helping. Let's go to outward. Try a little bit of outward. Nope. Let's go to plane change. Yep, there we go. Now we have an encounter. Let's see. Okay, so let's go to outward and maybe put just a touch of outward in. Okay, now let's go, we're just going to play with the variables a little bit here. Okay, the date's bringing that down a little closer. And let's try a little bit of prograde. Too much. Go the other direction. Okay. So let's just try a little bit more outward here. Okay. I bet we'll get the rest of it with the plane. And almost there. Nope, let's try the date again. And let's go to prograde. Date not gonna do it. Try the plane again. There we go. Now we're hitting the surface. Let's see. Which direction do I want to come in? So inclination is 74. Of course, this is all really going to change, of course, during the flight. So we'll just get something roughly set up here. All right, let's go plane and fine-tune that. Okay, so there we go. This plan is going to change during time. Things are going to be perturbed, but according to this current plan, we would be passing by the atmosphere at 90K. Of course, we're going to do a direct aero capture, so we'll want to hit the atmosphere around 65 to 70 kilometers. Probably 68 is going to be the sweet spot. And you can see right here our capture velocity, our capture delta velocity is about 529.1 meters per second. With this current plan, we're looking at about 186 days, 186.5 days of total flight time. Total delta V is about 3,397 K. Let's see, our encounter MJD is here, so that looks pretty good. So let me go ahead and write this down. Alright, so here's our spreadsheet, and pretty much everything is the same we have as far as our cargo. We still have the crew habitat module loaded in, so that's chosen as yes. I'm not going to be so mean to take that out for our crew. That would not be nice. So we'll leave that in for them, of course, for the trip home. We're going to need some cargo as far as LOX goes. Probably the half LOX cargo that we had before should be enough. Now let's go ahead and input, so our data here, our total flight time was 186.5. We're not going to round this time and make that mistake. For LOX surplus, I'm thinking about 6 days extra just to be safe. That should be more than enough. Alright, so over here on this side, we're going to fill our RCS tanks up all the way, so we'll leave that at default 804 kilograms. For our main fuel mass, I'm not exactly sure how much that's going to take, so depending on what we're going to estimate on our calculations here, let me just go ahead and put in about 8,000 kilograms, because I know we're not going to fill the tank up. We don't need all of that fuel. Alright, so our main fuel payload mass, we have an APU mass. We're not going to mess around with that. We're going to top that off, so that'll be 268 kilograms. Our LOX mass, so our internal LOX mass is going to be full. That's 364 kilograms. However, we need a total of 2,495 kilograms for our entire crew, for the entire flight, for our crew of 7. So let's see, we have the LOX payload half tank, which if it is topped off completely is 5,272.5 kilograms. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to take, let's see, we need 2495, correct? Yes, we need 2495 total kilograms in LOX. Subtract the internal LOX, which is 364. That means we need 2,131 kilograms inside of our LOX payload tank. So right here we're going to put 2131. Okay. So I believe everything else here looks good. So let's go to our fuel planning. Now, based on my experience, I've done a few test flights before as far as getting into an orbit from Mars. We're going to be looking at, for the entire orbital insertion, of course, we don't have scram engines, so it's going to take more fuel than we might have thought otherwise. But I'm going to estimate around 3,800 kilometers per second. That is to reach a complete circular parking orbit. Now, for the plane alignment, I'm not anticipating we'll have to do a plane alignment if everything goes well. But just to be safe, we're going to put it at around 20 meters per second. That's probably more than enough. The delta V of the ejection burn, so according to our plan, was 3,397 kilometers per second. So let's just go ahead and call that 3,400. And then for APU fuel remaining after the injection burn, I don't anticipate we're going to really use much APU fuel at all getting off of the ground. So let's see, full APU is 268 kilograms, so let's estimate around 265, maybe. That's probably good enough. Okay, and then let's see, for the first mid-course correction, I'm going to estimate we do that around 100 days in flight. APU fuel should be the same, 265. And, excuse me, I'm going to estimate for this one probably about 150 meters per second in delta velocity for that mid-course correction. Okay, and then the second mid-course correction, let's estimate that one around 160. And let's say that one's going to be around, let's see, APU fuel will be the same. Let's estimate around 50 meters per second on that one. And then our third mid-course correction, let's do that one around 180 days, somewhere in there. Total flight's 186, so that's 6 days out from Earth. That would be our final mid-course correction. You can't even really call it a mid-course correction. Our final approach correction, maybe? I'm sure it won't be our final correction. APU fuel should be the same, 265. And for that one, let's go ahead and estimate that one at around... you know, I'm on the fence on that one. Let's just go ahead and... I don't think it's going to take that much, but let's just go ahead and put in 100 meters per second, just to be safe. Okay, and then our arrival is going to be 186.5 days, I believe it was. Yes, it was. APU fuel remaining should be 265 still. Our total delta V for landing and final atmospheric maneuvers. Now, we are planning on doing an aero capture direct entry, but let's be safe just in case we want to have a little bit of fuel to do something else. I don't want to cut it too super close. So let's just call it around 500 meters per second. So according to the plan, we are short 510.18 meters per second. So we need to go back over here and put just a bit more fuel in. So let's put in about 8,500 kilograms in the main tank. And we're still short 106 meters per second. So it's really close. Let's try 8,600. And that's still not enough. Okay. So let's go to 8,900. Let's try that. Okay, now we have about 211 meters per second in reserve. It sounds like a lot. Let me double check that. So around 3,800 for orbital insertion, 20 for plane change, 3,400 for injection burn. We're guessing about 150 for that mid-course, 50 for that one, 100 for that one, and an extra 500 meters per second. Okay. Well, I think just to be safe, we will go with that. It's probably going to be, I'm guessing it's going to be too much. If we put 9,000 here, how much extra is that? Not really that much. So let's just go with that. 9,000, nice even number. All right. Okay, so for our flight log, we're starting out with, you know what, I'm not sure exactly. I'll have to use burn time to get that. Our beginning delta V. Okay, so let's hop over into the cockpit. So we need to fill up all of our tanks except the main tank. Scram tank stays empty. The main tank's only going to be 9,000, and our total LOX mass needs to be 2495. Let's do that first. So $24.95 for the locks. Let's open the locks and fuel hatch doors. Okay, so locks is filling up. So $24.95. Okay, we're almost there. I'll slow time down. Alright, so $24.95 shows 192 days of locks. So yeah, that would be good. So let me double check. $24.95. Check. Alright, so now let's do 9,000 kilograms in our main tank. So let's open RCS crossfeed. Let's also turn on APU and fill that up. So we're looking for 9,000 on the main tank.
Fuel tanks full. RCS fuel tanks full.
7, 8. Slow time down. Alright, there it is. Close enough. Okay, so we should have enough fuel, locks, everything's good to go. Let's close our hatches. Okay. External cooling is on. We're going to be here for a bit longer. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's take a look. So let me go to this cockpit view real quick. So our eject date is actually 59005 and it's currently 58856. So we need to advance the date. So we're 1 day out from the eject date. Scenario editor. Let's go to the date. Let's put it in 59004.7. Good enough. Okay, so let's apply. Done. Now, of course, the predictions have changed a bit. We're still encountering Earth. I'm not going to bother with that. Of course, I'm going to use interplanetary. So with that said, we're 1 day out from the launch. Let's pull up interplanetary. Let's go menu. I believe it's course. It's been a little while. Target intercept. We want to target Earth. Okay, and then let's see, we want to put in our eject date. Yes, let's input that. That is 5/9. Wait a minute. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I was looking at the encounter date. Okay, it's 5900005.7. Good enough. Well, we'll do 19. So 59005.719. Got it. Okay. And our encounter date. 59192.641. Okay, there we go. So interplanetary is estimating pretty darn close to what we had in our plan. So that's fine. Let's go over to this side, bring up interplanetary as well. And first thing we need to do is share with the other side. So we're going to share. And let's go to surface launch. Now let me go ahead and do a quick save just in case something silly happens. Alright, so you can see our heading is going to be 64 degrees if we wanted to take the next launch window. However, once again, we are a full day out from the ejection burn, so we're probably going to wait just a little bit longer. So let's time accelerate. Let's see, I think probably what's going to happen is we're 59005.7 is the eject date. So I think we're going to skip this launch window and we will take the next one. Okay, so that one's come and gone. So the next launch window is going to be a heading of 115, and that's over 20,000 seconds away. All right, so time accelerate. Okay, and to make things easier, I'm going to have the ground crew pivot our, use the, what do you call it, the tractor to move our Delta Glider, turn our Delta Glider, our XR2, excuse me, XR2, to the right heading, which should be 115. So let's use, let me pull up surface over here, and let's use the scenario editor. All right, let's get that. So we're going to turn to a heading of 115. There we go. Okay, let's get everything ready to go. So let's turn on the APU. Okay, we're going to stow the radiator. We're going to need hover doors open. We will leave external cooling on for now. Let's go up to the upper panel. Strobe and beacon can come on. We need to reset our mission elapsed timer. Wow, we've been here 751 days. Whew, man, it is definitely time to go. All right, let's turn the APU off. And I believe, let's make sure everything's zeroed out here. Zero both. Zero both. Good, go. Okay. All right, let's open our surface HUD. And let's see. Make sure our trim is all zeroed out here. There we go. Okay, so I believe that covers the pre-flight checklist. We should be ready to go. Let's watch our time here count down. We're just basically going to lift straight off the ground and go straight ahead. Let me time accelerate. Let's be careful not to pass that launch window. For the Mars launch, I'm guessing maybe around 100 seconds, probably 120 seconds. We could probably get away with launching. It's not going to take as long as Earth. So we'll watch this approach. It's about around 150 seconds out. I'll go ahead and start getting everything ready to go. And there's 150. So let's go down here. Let's turn on our APU. Let's go to rotation. Let's turn off external cooling. Okay, so we're approaching, there's 130, 129. Okay, so once again, heading 115. So off we go. All right, raise our gear, level the wings, full throttle, pitch up. And let's go ahead and reduce that hover engine thrust. We don't need that anymore. Let's close our hover doors. And there you go. See you later, guys. Off we go. So for Mars, of course, we don't have to pitch up very high. The atmosphere is so thin. We're going to be out of it in no time. So let's keep an eye on the EIN here. We want to make sure that's counting down. And we want to make sure we get that on 0 by the time we reach orbit. We'll pitch up just a little more. And I'm going to yaw it over to the right just a bit more. Take another quick look outside. Awesome. All right. Okay, let's pitch down a little bit. As I'm doing this, I just realized that I totally forgot to look at our total delta V before I took off, but I did do that quick save. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and jump into that quick save real quick after we get into orbit, off camera just to get that number so that we can input that into our spreadsheet. But we'll enter everything else in for the time being. Okay, so we need to yaw more to the right. The EIN is almost under 1. Let's go ahead and pitch down now. Maybe 2.5 is probably enough. And now our relative inclination is below 1, so it no longer says bad plane. Okay, our relative inclination is almost right on 0 there. I'm watching my apoapsis right here is currently at just over 100 kilometers, so we're almost in orbit. Let's just watch that relative inclination as we complete the orbit here. Try and keep that right on 0 if we can. Pitch down a little bit more. Current altitude's 45 kilometers. Our apoapsis is right about 200. I'm going to go ahead and shut down right about 250, so right there. So our apoapsis is now, probably hard for you guys to see, apologize about that. Apoapsis is currently at 256 kilometers. So we are here, we need to coast up to our apoapsis, do a small little prograde, well, not a small, but a reasonable prograde burn. Go ahead and stabilize the orbit, but our relative inclination is nice and low, so that's very good. We will make a note. You know what? I had the APU running this whole time. That was pretty dumb. Didn't need that running, so we used a bit more APU fuel than we estimated, but it's really not the end of the world. Alright, so let's turn off attitude hold. 0 the trim. Okay, so let's 0 everything. I believe that looks good. We do need to open, extend the radiator, deploy the radiator. So that is deploying. Okay, very cool. Oh wow, that looks great. Look how high that is. That's awesome. Okay, so what we need to do, let's switch over to orbit. Let's coast up to our apoapsis. Let me open the orbit MFD projection distance over there. Okay. Turn off the APU. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because I forgot to get the what our delta velocity was before we took off, I'll do that off camera. I'll grab that number after we finish the orbit here in just a minute, but we'll go ahead and log everything else. So let's coast up to apoapsis. I guess I need to go to menu here and orbital. We'll use interplanetary to circularize the orbit. So let's coast up there. We'll watch APT. So when APT is about maybe 20 seconds, I think that'll be a good time to go ahead and burn. So we're closing in on that now. Very carefully time accelerate. Okay, get ready to hit auto burn. And you can see we're looking at about 300 meters per second in delta V to circularize the orbit. Okay, so, and there's 20 seconds. Auto burn engaged. Okay, there you go. So we are now safely in orbit around Mars. I'll pitch down a little bit and get a better view. Okay, so let's go back to interplanetary on this side. Here's our plan. On this side, let's go back to our surface launch, and our relative inclination is still perfectly low, so there's really no need to do a plane alignment. Okay, now let's go ahead and get the vessel settled down there. Let's pull up a burn time MFD. So we have a total RCS remaining is 774.1. So let's input that in, 774.1. So that leaves us with an estimated 5,464 kilometers per second in delta V. So let's put that into our spreadsheet for right now. Let's see. So flight log, I forgot to put what we had here, but at MECO, I forgot for my flight log, I do have one for MECO and one for Circulize. So since I didn't really input that after MECO, we're just going to put these two as the same number, which is 5464. So 5464, 5464, and because we're not going to have to align the plane, that will remain the same, 5464. Okay, so I'll come back and, like you said, update this total delta V that we started the mission with off of camera. So here, I guess we can't actually calculate that until I do that. I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and do that real quick, and we'll just I'll just edit right back into where we left off here. Just give me 1 second. For you, it'll be like that. All right, gotta love that YouTube magic. So I did go ahead and input that into the spreadsheet. So if I pull that up, we had a total of 9,182 kilometers per second in delta V before we lifted off the ground. So according to our calculations, basically the orbital insertion into our parking orbit took a total of 3,718 kilometers per second. So 3718 is what the flight actually took. I will leave this empty for now because we haven't actually gotten to the injection burn yet. So just in case we do need to do a plane alignment, we will input that there. If not, we'll put 0. If we do a plane alignment, I'll come back and adjust this one as well. But I'm really anticipating we're not going to do that. I'll tell you what, let's go and put 0 there now because I already filled it in over here. Okay, so that pretty much leaves us with just the injection burn. So we're doing really good. We actually used quite a bit less for the orbital insertion. We're going to have probably way more than we need. Well, definitely way more than we need because we're only looking at about 3,400 kilometers per second in delta V for the injection burn. And we're looking at very minimal mid-course correction estimates. So let's see, we have 5464 minus, assuming it does take 3,400. So wow, we're going to have 2,000 kilometers per second in excess. So that was a terrible fuel planning. But who knows? We may have some problems along the way. You never know what's going to happen. So anyways, I think that's going to go ahead and wrap up this part. I apologize. I have airplanes flying over our house right now. So I hope there's not too much background noise for you guys. But pretty much ran out of time. I had to get this recorded today. So yeah, so we're up here in orbit. I guess we will go ahead. Let me go back to interplanetary on this side. There we go. So I guess since I reloaded, it's unshared. That's okay. We don't really need the surface launch program anymore. Anyways, just pull up orbit is fine. This will work for the save. So we make sure we have interplanetary over here with our plan, and let's do a quick save. So that is done. Okay, so this is where I'm going to leave you off. Wow, that's an awesome view. Look at that. That's like the Grand Canyon of Mars, except it's much bigger than the actual Grand Canyon here. Wow, so that's a great view to leave you with, I believe. So I think in the next part, of course, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cover the injection burn. And depending how long that takes, I may go ahead and just do the whole coasting phase as well. So basically, what I'm thinking is we'll do the injection burn, and basically we will get almost to Earth. So then the following part would pick up with Earth encounter and, you know, re-entering and landing and all that. That may be too long of an episode. We'll just have to see how that goes. But listen, guys, thank you as always for watching. I hope you guys are doing well. Certainly wish you all the best. Be sure and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. If you already are, thank you very much. I appreciate your support. And until next week, I will see you guys in part 11. All right, take care, and we'll see you then.